What's going on, guys? My name is Glurmit, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys some fleets you can use throughout the game, ranging from early game to late game, but without the necessity of the big three. And I mean by that Leviathan, Profundity, and Executor. Now one of these fleets, the one at the end of the video, is arguably the best fleet in the game in terms of performance right now. It's just unreal. It beats everything on offense. It also holds against nearly everything on defense. And we'll get to that when we get to that. So in terms of the fleets, I've broken them down by the commanders, so you can kind of work this out easily. Now we have two Akbar fleets, guys. Now if you saw the last video uploaded, link in the description, you're going to know that this is a pretty good early game fleet. I am on my early game account right now. And this fleet does work really well. It's going to be beating quite a lot on offense. And the benefit is also on defense, it does okay. You will want a Relic Biggs eventually, and you would also want a Relic Kyle, but those are two things that are pretty easy to get, and they're needed across the game anyway, so it's not terrible. And it makes use of Piston, and it makes use of Cassian, who otherwise would pretty much go unused. Same with Wedge in the reinforcements. Now guys, something I just want to clear up early on. A lot of these fleets don't have max reinforcements because you don't need them. Just because you can bring 4 reinforcements doesn't mean you should. 1, it impacts your banners negatively, and 2, you just don't need them. The thing with fleets is, a lot of the time, once you take 1 or 2 ships out, you can clean up for anything. So having leftover ships, no matter what they are, could be the difference between a full clearing, TW or GAC, or just a fail altogether. Now obviously in territory battles you may opt to use an extra ship, but that's entirely up to you guys. So the next fleet we have is the old traditional, or so we call it the old reliable. And that is going to be the Akbar fleet of the past days. It's going to have Biggs, it's going to have Hans Valiant Falcon, Piston, Cassian, and then you can opt to put in the Rebel Y-Wing. But that's kind of up to you if you want to use that or not. But this is a really strong fleet. It's going to be beating Negotiators, it can beat some low tier Executors. It's just a really nice fleet. Now the only reason why I would opt to use this one instead is because 1, Hans Valiant Falcon will eventually just go in with the Profundity long term, and 2, it can be a little bit of a pain to get. And let's be real guys, if you have bounty hunter ships to do with Millennium Falcon, you most likely have Executor. Obviously you may be early game, so it may be different, but for most of you, you're probably not going to be in a position where if you don't have Executor, you're not going to have this anyway, so maybe you opt to use the top fleet. Now the third fleet in the list is going to be the Negotiator. My hatred towards this fleet is unknown. For some reason, this is the one fleet I always fail on. I don't know how, but it just happens. We're going to run it with Ahsoka, Anakin, the Galactic Republic Y-Wing. Then we've got Plo in there, and we have 5s. Now there are some fun things. Negotiators on the rise right now. I saw a video the other day, guys, link in the comments this time, and it's really good video. It's about someone having an R9-5s in starting lineup and beating Leviathan. And the R9-5s was kind of crucial because you apply so much target lock that 5s just nukes people, and it's a really cool combo. But Negotiator is a great fleet. It's needed for the General Skywalker. When I say needed, you can do it with Mace, but you guys know you can also use this as well. And in general, you're probably going to have these ships anyway, so it's a decent fleet to be working on. I mean, none of the ships are necessarily bad. Only 2 of them are a little bit of a pain to get, and that's going to be Anakin's ship, and it's going to be the Galactic Republic Y-Wing. Because these ships are hard nodes and they do take a while, but other than that, it's a pretty accessible fleet. And Negotiator is one of those ships that everyone should be going for sometime down the line. Now you may decide to run Mace before you get Negotiator. It can work on defense for a little bit early game, but honestly guys, you want Negotiator and take it straight to 7 stars. Like, a lot of people are always asking questions, do I go Malevolence or Negotiator? If you want both, Malevolence 5-star, Negotiator 7-star. If you're only interested in one for now, Negotiator 7-star. That's probably what's going to benefit you the most. Then we have the Malevolence fleet, guys, and you can run this with Geos, but obviously if we're talking the best possible fleets without the Executor Profundity Leviathan in here, you're going to be running it with the standard lineup. Now guys, note that Houndstooth is not present at all here. You can use Houndstooth in almost any lineup, but at the end of the video I'll go over some that is better, and But obviously, like I said, if you have Houndstooth, if you have those ships, you're most likely working on Executor anyway, so it's probably not going to apply to you. I mean, even if you have Executor, or even if you have Profundity, these fleets are still worth looking at. It's just we're trying to go from a standpoint that you don't have them at all. So yeah, you're going to be running the standard Malevolence lineup. This is going to be beating a lot of things. And if you want to take it to the next level, you put the Bomber in there, and all of a sudden you have your Profundity counter. But note, guys, the final ship that we have down at the bottom, you're not even going to need anything else to do that. It's crazy. But yeah, Malevolence is really strong. It doesn't need good pilots, because 2 of them are are crewless ships even. And 3 of them are Geos, and most of you have Gear 12 Geos, and if you don't, you should have. I don't know why you haven't done it. So it's kind of a nice one to have. It's going to be beating a lot on offense. On defense, it can trip your opponent up. Just make sure you're setting it with just Spy. It does sometimes come out big there. Then we have the Endurance. Now, guys, you're probably going to be saying, Glurmit, why have you included this when you said you're not going to include these ships? I just had to include this one as an outlier because, I mean, okay, Profundity, we have actually got some ships included down here. Executor, we've kind of left out, but I'll explain. Now, for a lot of you who are sub 4 million GP and don't spend money, you may have this fleet here, but you may not have Leviathan yet, or maybe you just don't have the R9s, or maybe you just do really well in Conquest and you have Malgus and you have his ship, you just never did Leviathan. Or maybe you just don't want to use Leviathan, I don't know. But this is an incredibly good fleet. Don't ask me why. There's literally like a 1% difference hold rate between Leviathan and Maceathan. There you go, guys, we created a new thing today, Maceathan. That sounds terrible, but Mace is actually a Sith Lord, and I don't know how to explain it to you guys. But if you set this on defense, it does hold a lot, so it's something to consider if that's what interests you. Next up, we have the first of the 2 fleets that are Journey Guide requirements for Galactic Legends, and they are going to be the Finalizer fleet. This is the first one where you may opt to use Houndstooth, but I would say stop right there, guys, because the next fleet is better for Houndstooth, because this ship has a dedicated tank now. It's not really necessary to have Houndstooth here, and it's going to be the first order fleet. So it can beat Negotiators, it can beat Executors, and that's kind of what it does. I mean, it does some other stuff, but it's a decent fleet that has its purpose throughout the game. Unfortunately, when people start setting triple attackers, it goes down a little bit in the pecking order, but it's still a really, really nice fleet to have. And then the next fleet is the Resistance fleet, which you can just remove this ship here, the Starfighter, or whatever it's called. I don't know, I can't remember. Star Fortress. What was it even called? Star Fortress, there we go. You can remove this ship, and then you can actually put Houndstooth in here. This fleet then functions pretty well. It becomes a more reliable Negotiator counter, if that's something that interests you. And the final fleet today, guys. Now, some of you are going to be a little bit upset because this does include a very, very good ship in here. And it's gonna be the Chimera. Guys, this is like the best ship in the game right now. I'm not even exaggerating. In Grand Arena, outside of kyber, so for most of you watching, this lineup here has almost got a 60% hold rate. The only ship that even competes with that hold rate is the Leviathan and Maceathan. They're like the only 2 things that are competing. Now, it does require Scythe. It does also mean you're not going to be running Tarkin Scythe, which is, don't do that, guys. You want to be running this. This is the way to go. And you don't have to run Bomber on offense. Don't run Bomber, run TIE Fighter. On defense, run Bomber. This shuts down Profundity. This shuts down basically everything. There's just no counters, guys. And just to demonstrate, I'm going to show you guys everything outside of kyber. We can have a look at kyber in a second, but it is a little bit different. But I mean, it's still worth having a look at, right? But we have Chimera, we have Vader, we have Bomber. We then have the Scythe. And then on the reinforcements, we have these 2. And here you go, guys, look at that. Almost a 60% hold rate. And the only consistent counter is Executor. Okay, it's not seen a lot outside kyber. But seriously, guys, this is like ridiculously good. You exclude Executor and it's 36%. Like, this is such a powerful lineup. It's unreal. Now, obviously, if we're going to go ahead and we're going to include kyber, the stats will be a little bit more skewed, but they're still holding up. Like, look at that, guys. 59%. And if we was to exclude the Executor here, it's still like 53% win rate, which means almost 1 in 2 battles, maths guys, is going to be a hold for this fleet. This fleet is incredibly strong. Now, it does require Interceptor and it does require Scythe, but just remember, guys, Scythe is hitting Proving Grounds in the coming month, and maybe you had Scythe hanging around. A lot of us have GI, a lot of us are going for Reaver. So if you're going to go into this position, this is the fleet to go for, guys. I would argue this is probably the best performing fleet in the game right now. And I didn't even show you guys how it even performs on offense, because on offense you can basically hit auto. Now, unfortunately, I've now said this, so just watch the data not be in my favor. But you can more or less hit, or like, you can bring TIE Fighter, like I said, guys. So we're beating Leviathan 62% of the time. Obviously, if you know what you're doing, it's probably gonna be higher. We're beating Executor 83%. Honestly, guys, you can like, I don't know how people are losing this. Maybe it's just a gear problem, I don't know. Anyways, guys, these are the fleets I'd recommend. Honestly, the last fleet, if you're gonna go for Grand Inquisitor and you're gonna go down that route, I would 100% recommend you do get it up and running, because it is a really good fleet. The other ones, they all range from good to usable to not so great. But obviously, guys, you may have Profanity, you may have Executor, and you may have Leviathan. But even if you have them, these are all fleets to consider. Like, for example, if I was someone with all 3 GL fleets, you could save Leviathan because it autos anything, and you could set this fleet here, or you could save Executor on defense and you could use something else. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you go and you dominate the fleet arena. Thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Every little helps, guys. I am now working, apparently, for McDonald's with those slogans. And as always, guys, have a glowing day.